Hello everyone, I'm back with another video for you today, and the new evolving card for Syndicate has been revealed, and it's a pretty exciting one, definitely working well with an archetype that we haven't seen too much of in recent times, or even in olden times as well. So hopefully this will be bringing back some new life to that, and some new ways to play Syndicate. But as always, let's just jump into the spotlight here before I give some impressions, some thoughts on this new card, as well as the others that have been revealed recently. So, let's go.
Have you heard tell of the lad who played with toy soldiers, then went on to lead a noble order in its crusade against the dark that envelops the world? Upon closer inspection, oh, what lovely surprises await.
Introducing Jacques de Aldersberg, an evolving card that gets stronger at the start of each round. The card depicts Jacques' journey from childhood to adulthood to finally becoming Grand Master of the Order of the Flaming Rose. De Aldersberg excels at rallying Firesworn fanatics, and in his final form lets you capitalize every time you play a card from the Firesworn category. Cleric of the Flaming Rose is one of many new cards created to synergize with Jacques and flesh out the Syndicate's Firesworn Swarm archetype. While the Order of the Flaming Rose was founded with noble intentions, their shady dealings in Fistek make them a powerful new ally for the Syndicate.
Wow. So, a couple of new cards there, primarily the, of course, evolving card being a pretty big deal. So let's just jump into the actual card description. One sec here. And we'll talk about it. So it works very similarly to Usurper, which we've already seen. Again, a 6-point card for 11 provisions. I'm hoping that not all of the cards will be the same kind of stat line, because it, would be nice to have a bit of difference, a bit of variation in terms of, maybe here's a slightly stronger but more risky, evolving card, or here is, getting more points on deploy and more long-term value in comparison with one another. Like, I would like some kind of variation between the cards there, rather than just doing kind of pretty much the same thing and being worth the same amount of points, but for different archetypes. But we'll see. We'll see what approach they're deciding to go for the last few cards. And this way is also, fair enough, and will lead to these different archetypes being a little bit more playable and having a bit more support for them. So, with that being in mind, this is Firesworn synergy. That is the real thing that's being pushed with this card here. So it doesn't say here because the tribute effect is a little bit bugged on the website, but it is tribute 4, profit 4. So you can immediately do the tribute effect, which is to spawn 2 Firesworn Zealots, 2 strength units in this row. And of course this is the first stage when he's a child, and this is going to level up at the start of round 2 into a form which is spawning 3 strength, 1 armor units, the Flaming Rose Footman. So that's going to make this again a 12-11, very similarly to Usurper General. Usurper General's, a little bit weaker on the first effect than the Jacques, but that's kind of a very minor difference, I think, between the two cards. Other than that, it's usually a 12 for 11. Same as the Usurper, spawning operatives and pulling them over. And when you get to the final stage, he again has Veil, like Usurper does. And whenever you play a Firesworn card, you boost self by 1. So that's obviously going to be a lot of synergy for Firesworn things in general. One thing to note is Jason Slammer did say that all existing Firesworn synergies, boosting Zealots and things with Sacred Flame or Procession of Penance possibly, will work as well in this way, where they will synergize also with Flaming Rose Footman. So there's potentially going to be a lot of cards that are currently in the game that will actually work with this new effect. And this effect will obviously work with a lot of the cards that are already in the game. Or did I just say that? You know what I mean. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of synergy there, basically. If you're able to get a lot from that whenever you play a Firesworn card, you're maybe going to want to go for Devotion and get that extra level up. Go for a Syndicate-only Firesworn deck, and kind of just go crazy with a lot of spawning of units and things like that, get big boosts and stuff. I think it was even bugged in the trailer, possibly, where he didn't get boosted when they played Grand Inquisitor, whatever he's called. Not sure about that. Let me know if I'm wrong about that in the comments. But yeah, that should be a very interesting archetype. And Swarm Syndicate is something we've not really seen too much of. It's never really been very viable because of board punish and row clears and just generally not having the points as well. Definitely having the armor on the footman will help against things like lacerate and whatnot, although it'll be hard to say whether it will actually be super viable. There's a lot of Triss lacerate in the meta at the moment, which this might play a little bit into. Let's talk about the other card that was revealed in the trailer there for a second. Cleric of the Flaming Rose. So what do we have here? A Prophet 2, 4 Strength, 5 Provision card. So immediately kind of a 6 for 5. The Tribute is Tribute 2. It doesn't show up here on the website. And it spawns a Firesworn Zealot in this row. So yeah, just a 6 for 5. You can pay that Prophet to get a Firesworn unit on the board. Spawn a unit. Bit of synergy there with some of the cards that already exist in Syndicate. And then you have Fee 1, transform a Firesworn Zealot into a Flaming Rose Footman. So that's actually quite a strong ability in terms of you're just paying 1 to gain 1 point and 1 armor on any of your Firesworn Zealots that you have. So this allows you to very much protect your rows and play around potential lacerates and board damage and just jump damage in general to your guys and get potentially quite a bit of value. So this, I think I could see this playing a very important role in Firespawn focused decks, because of course you're going to want to have a nice spender here that can distribute points very effectively. It's a 6 for 5, which is really quite good for a spender. Usually spenders are breaking kind of even on provision points because they have the spending factor, which is quite nice. But this is a pretty well statted, if you compare it to something like the Blacksmith, obviously you're not able to spend coins as freely as you are with Blacksmith, but it is 1 point more than Blacksmith, and you potentially get more from the armor than you otherwise would with it. So there's definitely potential for this card to be good, maybe even in general in certain decks where you can utilize that spending ability, but also in, of course, big time Firesworn decks, which is kind of what the card is designed for. So yeah, looking like a pretty decent option there, and some more support for that archetype, which is really cool. And we also have Smuggle, which is another card that's doing a similar kind of thing, another spawn effect. Clearly they're pushing these, I'm not even sure what they're called, but the guys that boost whenever you spawn a unit. You saw them in the trailer. They're trying to make those quite good, and maybe they will be, because they're only 4 provisions, I believe. But yeah, this is Profit 3, 5 provisions, a crime as well, and you spawn a Flaming Rose Footman in an allied row, so effectively a 6 for 5. Nothing too crazy. I'm not sure this card is particularly good. You can maybe compare it to Congregate. Congregate's probably better than this, right? Because it's only 4 provisions, I believe. God, I haven't played Firesworn in so long, but yeah, Smuggle here is probably not going to do that much unless you're really, really interested in getting even more spawning effects going in your deck. I don't see this card being very good. I think there's enough spawn effects already. And as just a crime that you can throw in, a crime-focused deck, yeah, maybe there's going to be a crime. We already have Crime Congregate as a thing, so potentially you could play Smuggle in that deck. That's probably the one place I see this card being played. Otherwise, yeah, not sure it's going to be even good enough for like a full-on Firesworn deck, but I could be wrong about that. So those are the new cards. Nothing too crazy here, but yeah. Definitely a very interesting archetype to be promoting, the Swarm Syndicate, and that's something we haven't seen in quite a while, so I'm very excited to try that out when the expansion release, as well as all the other stuff. But we'll see. Yeah, as I said, I would really hope that there's a bit more diversity in these evolving cards. I think you could do some very interesting things with them, like, not even necessarily have them just become objectively stronger each round, but you could make them do different things in each round. Maybe round 2 it's not even weaker than round 3, but it just does something different. Like maybe it's synergizing with one thing instead of another, or it's boosting instead of damaging, or it's got resilience or shield, or it's poisoning or locking depending on the round. There's a lot of things you could do with these evolving cards, and that's something that the game's never really experimented with. Cards are usually quite linear in what they do. They're always the same throughout the game. You could change that up, and with mages, depending on which row they're on, or not with mages, but in the past, depending on what row something was on, it would do a different thing. You could experiment with that, but with different rounds. If it's a different round, then the thing will do a different thing. I don't think they're going to go for that approach here, which is a bit of a shame to see, but maybe in the future it's always going to be a possibility. I hope evolving cards is something they keep doing in the future, and don't just leave it as a one-off thing for this expansion, because I think it's definitely a good design space to use, and I think you can do more interesting things than it seems they're going to do here. But with that being said, it's still very exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the reveals and the other archetypes that get promoted. Maybe they'll have Wild Hunt for monsters or Beasts for monsters. That'll be very interesting. And for Skellige, maybe Discard or some archetype that's been left behind a bit. Could be hopeful of that. Maybe Druids and Alchemy or whatever. Either way, that's going to be kind of my review of this new card and my thoughts on some of the other cards revealed. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. To remember to subscribe for more videos. Of course, links in the description are useful if you need any of those. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.